Behind all the glamour,
Behind the Lux listings,
a raw take on all things real estate.
all things New York City,
All things us.
Hey everyone, Steve Cohen and
Tim Malone.
welcome back to Real Talk, episode 6. Can you believe that?
Nope. Cranking right through these things.
Yes, we are. So thanks for tuning in. I'm going to get right to it. Our topic for the day is the roller coaster that is real estate.
The fun of that roller
The
coaster.
fun, the glamour.
What does that mean?
So I'll start this way. You know, over the years, I always get calls, that people want to get into real estate and want to talk to me, either join a team or want my advice. And I've been doing this coming on 23 years. In the last, I'd say 5 years, I get more calls from people in college choosing this as a first-time career than ever before. Because real estate, I mean, when I grew up in the olden days, used to be, it was a third career or a divorcee. So I think it's very interesting. And obviously, I think a lot of that has to do with how real estate agents and brokers are portrayed on all these reality TV shows.
Yeah, I think that's the main driver. And then I think technology has to play into it too. Because I think social media to some extent really glamorizes, and obviously, which photo is going to get the most likes. The penthouse on Fifth Avenue, of course. Let's talk about these shows. Let's see. So how long have these shows been on? Would you say roughly a decade?
A decade, probably a little longer.
A little longer.
Yeah. And it definitely shows before. So before there was $1 Million Listing,
Right.
there was Selling New York.
Right.
And those shows which were a little bit truer to a little less drama, if you will, and just more documenting the day in the life.
Right. It's funny because I think, we interact with the people on the shows. So we know, what their business style is and stuff. And I've watched the show a couple times and it's so far-fetched from what we actually see. I would never, the drama in a showing, like when you walk into a showing, I feel like most brokers that we encounter here in the city are lovely, they're friendly, they're complimentary. If I took a buyer to an apartment and it was like awful,
right?
The 20 minutes that I'm in that's not the time or place to rip that apartment apart. Like I just would never do that.
What makes good TV and what is reality are two different things.
And what's fascinating is when someone walks in and starts, and I get it. And I think that's, it's done an interesting thing for the business.
It's all about, listen, it's not all about, it's real estate. It's what we're doing every day, but it's a big part of it, of course, is what makes good television. And those people, some of them are really good and they make good TV.
Oh, great.
And obviously
that's why they're on the show.
We've been on the shows, as guests. And yes, it's different than necessarily what actually really happens.
Yep. Yeah. You don't see the nitty gritty conversations that we have in the background of how we're going to strategize to sell a, 1 bedroom on
the
east side of like.
We don't. It's
because it's boring.
We don't have a lunch every time we have to discuss an offer with another broker. But
at the top restaurants.
Right. We do that with clients, but good news, or some of our broker friends. But but good TV is not just a phone call. So anyway, it's been interesting. It's certainly entertaining.
Yep.
And listen.
So what is it really? Let's jump right into it. I want to hear. I have one story, but I want to hear. I'm sure you have.
Start. What's your story?
Okay, so I have this apartment. I had this listing 2 years ago on the Upper West Side. I remember I had the buyers were coming in like 25 minutes. I got there early. I was pulling up the blinds. These were like old blinds. Caveat, not electric.
Central Park West?
No, on 69th and Broadway.
Okay, got it.
So blinds were not electric. And I pulled down the string and like...
The whole thing fell.
They all started to fall. But not all of them. And it was like caught in the middle. And I'm like, the thing about this apartment is this gorgeous window and the view. So I'm like, all right, I've got 25 minutes.
To
I
tie
started
this
playing
thing.
like Jenga, and I was
Right.
like sliding the things back in. I was determined to get it right. I did, but then they came and the buyer had no idea that the blinds weren't great.
Oh, the glamour of it all. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Because everyone thinks, listen, we're fortunate, right? You started by saying what we post. Yes, we post really sexy, great listings of ours, but we do it all. And every apartment, just like every home, every property, every outfit we put on isn't the sexiest, hottest.
Totally.
So, although, we're always looking sexy and hot in our turtleneck and sweaters. Anyway, just to finish that point, it's not just opening doors to magnificent places that and then everybody's putting in offers immediately. Obviously, we're dealing with human beings. We're dealing with their homes, the emotions of it, couples. I love working with people, and a lot of our job is listening between the lines.
Yep.
And when you have a husband and wife or two partners that don't agree, it's knowing how to strategically work that and get them to a meeting place.
Yep.
And or not, or they don't even know that they're disagreeing or agreeing.
So I think that's the hard part, is because getting back to what you originally said, when there's been like this influx of people that want to get into the industry, how do you don't know about it. Like, I know when I started, it was like, the advice I got was like, get ready for the first year of just like learning.
Right.
And it's not really everything you expect in a good and a bad way. But I don't think when you're jumping into this industry, anyone would think how much goes into marketing these properties. And, sometimes, we just rented a 2-bedroom on the Upper West Side because it wouldn't sell right now in this market.
Yeah.
I showed it over 200 times. It's crazy, but like, not putting that on social media, guys. Like, so
that's the real stuff.
Yeah.
This reminds me. So Joshua Saslov, who is an incredible broker in Aspen, we had lunch, and I remember he turned to me and said, this business is not about selling property. It's about relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And to what I was saying before, so much of what we do is getting in the heads of people, helping them suss things out, hearing between the lines or listening between the lines. And to your point, the learning and what that takes. Yeah, there's so many nuances, as there are to any business.
But that panel we went to the other day that you were on Tuesday, I think what everyone said, the theme was that the importance of data, but even like our value. And I think that comes into a lot of the hard conversations, because we're up against media headlines. We're up against all of this news that's in people's heads. And it's like, guys, I can tell you what's going on this past weekend on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. I know, because we're in it. We are like knee high
so
into this
the
showing.
feeling was always have the data to present. However,
but the data is not even that up to date.
We can bring the emotional,
totally
real, tangible. This is what we're experiencing. This is what's happening. This is what people are saying, not what you're reading in the paper, which it may agree with it, but telling them real life experiences. Telling stories
and really current.
Really,
and I think that's why we got on this theme of the highs and lows, because right now we're just seeing a market that is, as I said to you, if somebody joined this industry in 2019, they saw it in 2019. They saw the slump of COVID. They saw the rise of 2021, which was like, we were all crazy busy. And now, it's definitely a down market in the back half of 2022.
Rising interest rates, although I think they've gone down a bit.
They've gone down a little bit, but...
And potential recession, yes.
But in the last 10 days, things have picked up. Yes. And if you read the data, you wouldn't know that, because the data is too delayed.
It's dated. So, that's correct.
But those are really, again, something you don't see, but these are really hard conversations, because you're, again, having to have those with clients. And I think to your point, like, when you have that relationship and someone trusts us, it goes a lot further, because those people understand, like, I'm not bullshitting you.
No.
I'm literally telling you the truth because I want to get the best.
Okay, so it's been 5 years. So can you go back and remember what you thought it would be and what it actually is. And that's obviously changed over time.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely never thought it was what is portrayed on TV.
All the glamour.
I mean, I knew there was some of that, and there is some of that. I mean, we've sold huge listings. We've dealt with celebrity clients. We've, had some really great successes that could parallel content on those shows.
Sure.
But I don't think I realized how much marketing goes into this business. And, we just from like the second we hear about a new listing, we're immediately thinking like, how are we going to market it? How are we going to stage it? What do we have to, what are the hurdles for this listing? How do we have to like get it ready? Yeah. And coming from a marketing background, I don't think I realized how much marketing.
Well, I will
this.
tell you, yes, we do that.
Yeah.
And I think our team does it extremely well, but that has changed. If I have to look back when I was first in this business, rare that you would maybe do a video.
Yeah.
But it was about just get some good photos and a good floor plan and put it up and get it out to everyone through the through co-broking.
And then I also think the personal branding. I don't think I realized how important that personal branding, which again, I think is probably in the last 6-8 years mainly because of social media. But I think like real estate agents in major cities have personal brands, and really important to their business. So I don't think I realized that. But
things have changed.
Yep.
And we're changing along with it. And
doing a podcast.
And doing a podcast,
So.
which I like. Are you having fun?
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
So we talked about the highs and lows, and we were relating it, as I said, to the business. Something someone said interesting is another thing is like when the market is full of buyers and we're getting multiple offers. Would you choose that? Or would you rather, is that your favorite time? Or is it when the pace is slower and you can put an offer in, but there's not like 6 people up against you? Like what's your...
That's interesting. I would say, what's my favorite? My favorite is when we're winning all the bidding wars and
but it's nerve-wracking.
We're locking down business. Yes. So what I'll say to that is, again, the glory of it all.
Yeah.
It's not all that everybody thinks, and I tell sellers this all the time. Well, they'll say, maybe we'll have a bidding war. And I always say, be careful with that.
Mm-hmm.
That has to be really carefully, and we're really good at this. Communication is everything when you have a bidding war. When you have 6 other offers, you don't want to feel like you're working it against other people. You have to communicate with everyone where they are exactly, because potentially people get hyped up into this. We're not in this particular market right now, but people get hyped up. They get emotional, and they may put in an offer way above what is realistic for them, and then they end up falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could potentially lose all the offers.
All right, let's keep this exciting. What is so far in your career, what's one of your sexiest memories of your real estate business? What would be episode 3 on your reality show?
My reality show? Listen, it's fun. The fun for me, and what I always remember, are the people. And yes, it's fun when you get like we said, you get a call from a well-known personality or business person or someone you admire, and they've been referred, or they know you and they want to work with you. That's all great, and that's fun. Sometimes the personalities don't match who you think they are, good and bad. But I've had a number of deals that I'm particularly proud of. I worked with a Middle Eastern royal family and their ambassador, and we found them a magnificent townhouse for them. And the story goes that it was gorgeous, and we negotiated a deal for them, and His Royal Highness came and stayed and loved it, but it wasn't big enough. So this was in a very short period after they purchased, so we could look around at a bigger home, but we had just bought this property.
Mm-hmm.
But what we did is I went to the 2 neighbors, and one definitively did not want to sell. The other, right next door, was a townhouse that was broken up into 8 different co-op apartments. And I spent the next 9 months negotiating with each of the sellers, getting them all to agree to sell, negotiating prices with all of them. We had to collapse the co-op, and we had a closing. Every buyer or every seller showed up on that one day at the closing. It was a Friday, and we closed the deal. And then the embassy ended up combining the two homes to create even more magnificent home, but double the space.
Right.
And I'm proud of that. It was a very big price ticket, but the nuances and the difficulty and working with 8 different sellers and, not having them, also getting the best deal for everyone involved, including I was representing my buyers, the consulate, the embassy. I was working both sides. I think that's one of the deals I'm most proud of because it really took, I was working with all different personalities. I had to be strategic. It took time. If one person didn't sell, it blows up the whole deal.
Right.
So we were called in. It was an estate sale. And this was a very large, beautiful, gracious, old world apartment. And someone was sick. A very well-known person in New York City was ill and had passed. And it literally was like they had the funeral and
closed up
had
the apartment.
Shiva, and they closed the apartment. Eyeglasses still on open magazines to the date of the week that the person passed. The Valium right next to still by the bedside. Yeah, that was, you could feel the spirit. I had brokers come in and say they felt something in the apartment.
Yep.
But for us, we walk into people's homes all the time, but this had been, I think it was for 15 years. They had, no one essentially had been in the apartment. Nothing had been touched.
Yep.
So it really was like a time where going back to when this person passed.
Yep.
And going back 15 years.
Yep.
I mean, literally magazines open.
And then having to get it ready for photos and showings.
Prep it and get it ready. Now, it was a magnificent apartment because it was done, a very well-known interior designer did it, who, works with some of the greatest designs, that we've seen. So it was tasteful and beautiful, dated, obviously. But that was interesting. And getting that ready. This is recent. We were going in to look at a townhouse to get it ready. And there was a separate unit downstairs that they had rented. And the people had called ahead to tell us we're coming in. And the caretaker or the representative was taking me in. And when we went to the downstairs, I walked in and I guess the guy forgot.
Yeah.
Just walked out naked.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. We were like, oh, whoa, sorry.
We're here for the showing.
Yeah, exactly. So, that was, the glory of it all, right?
All right. Shifting a little bit to market shifts. Like, how do you deal with how quickly the market can shift sometimes? Like, I was just talking to Scarlett, our team member. We brought something on or I should say we priced something in July, and by the time we brought it on in September, the market had already shifted and that price had evolved. How do you calibrate your thinking and your way of working when the market's shifting so fast like it is? I think it is right now.
I think that we certainly learned during COVID to pivot.
Yeah.
And I think every good broker has gotten very good at that. And, the comments I get back, we've talked about this on our marketing, our videos, is that we tell it like it is. We're not Pollyannish.
Yep.
We give the good, the bad, and the realistic. And when we don't know, we say so.
Yep.
And there is a bit of unknown now, although I feel that's shifting right now. As we talked about in the last 5 weeks, things have seemed to loosen up a bit. sellers and buyers having more of a meeting of the minds.
Yep.
So I feel that's loosening, and I think that will, God willing, continue into 2023. But the shifting, and it's harder because we're in it every day and we know what's going on. And not that we have a crystal ball, but we've been through enough of these that we know we can see where it's going.
Yep.
It's harder when you just have to continue having conversations, particularly with sellers.
Yep.
I'm just using this as an example where you see a market going down. You don't want them to chase the pricing down.
Right.
Get ahead of it. Lower your price now so that we get the buyers and sell it before it goes down further. Then you're just chasing the market down.
Yeah.
But having those difficult conversations, listen, who wants to tell anyone bad news? We're just the messengers, but we're educated, advisors and messengers. So
yeah, but there's always good news with bad news. I mean, if you say the market's down, there's good news for someone because it's an opportunity.
There's great opportunities for purchasers. Or we have a deal that's going, they have a board interview next week. And I can tell you that these sellers, because obviously we talk to them all, are so appreciative of the number we have right now.
Yep.
And if I would have told them that number 5 months ago, they would have said, no way, we're not taking that.
Yeah.
But they see where the market's going. They're looking at another property that they can buy at a lower price. So it's working out for them.
It's a win-win, yeah. 2021 was interesting because I think people got in such a mindset of, on the buy side during COVID, I'm going to throw in an offer that's 17% under ask or 16% under ask. And it was like so quickly, guys, we can't do that anymore. That happened. I remember that transition from
that small period of COVID.
Fourth quarter 2020 to say the spring of 2021 into 2020, like when the market was on the rise and ascending, and it was like, guys, we can no longer, I can't put in an 85% of ask. They're going to laugh at me.
Right.
Had you called me 6 months ago.
Yeah. There's always that short window. It happened after 9/11. 2008 was longer.
Yep.
COVID, there was a period.
Right. I feel like I have a group of friends that ask me almost every time I see them, how's New York real estate? What's going on? And I'm like, well, I just told you 3 weeks ago, but I'll tell you again.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's totally different.
Oh, that's so,
and I feel
especially
like
now.
Right now, today, had you asked me 3 weeks ago, I would have had a different story than today.
I agree completely.
Because things just feel different in the since Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I think things feel different. They're getting a little busier.
No, before Thanksgiving.
Maybe a couple days.
Yeah. No, I'd say the last month.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. We had a strong, thank God, we had a strong November, and God willing, we're going to have a strong December. But it's a lot of work. It's meeting of the minds, buyers, sellers, and getting them to agree and get to a place that works for everyone.
Okay, so one like high and low that I think we deal with a lot is co-op boards.
Sure.
So again, a lot of people don't understand co-op boards, how much goes into a co-op application, co-op interviews, what the whole process is about. And I think it's seen as like a very daunting task, even for some of the wealthiest, most professional clients that we have. The thought of having to put this together, and they've gone to amazing schools and they work at big firms, but like, you really want me to do a co-op board? It's like daunting. And when we put these packages together and our team is super successful at that, unfortunately, sometimes there are board turndowns for one reason or another. Is that like a real, how do you are those some of your lows, or are there any examples of board turndowns that really?
All right. So I'll say first, we have to shout out to Meredith.
Yep.
Who's our transaction coordinator, who is our secret sauce on the team. That woman can put together a board package like no one's business. She has to win the trust because at that point, this is where she steps in after our clients have worked with us. She wins their trust immediately because they're turning over, their most personal information and financials and all of that. And she also knows every management agent and has a great relationship with every management agent. So we're very fortunate. So we have Meredith, but that's our team secret sauce with good co-op board packages. I have, of course, over 23 years, we've had some board turndowns. I've been fortunate to have reversed certain turndowns, because no doesn't mean no. You go back, you
Right.
find out what was missing, if you can. There are some where it's no.
Yeah.
And co-ops, as you know, they don't have to give you a reason.
Right.
But again, have gone back to certain boards where we had an initial turn down, found out what their concern was and had it reversed.
Mm-hmm.
So we've done that a few times.
Yeah. But I think that's also getting back to where something I didn't know. I just don't think people understand how much goes into a co-op application. Some more than others, but
that's where really we bring, that's a piece again of so much of what
the value
that a good agent, particularly a New York City real estate agent, if you're buying a co-op, brings to the table. You have to know the buildings, understand certain buildings, what they require, what they look for, how to pull together the right package, how to tell a story within a package.
Yep.
Because these co-op boards, the bright side of it is they want to protect their investment, your investment, and it's what saved us in 2008, where the whole country plummeted because people were able to put down 5%, 10% less.
Yep.
Where banks were just letting you
giving away.
Giving away.
Mm-hmm.
Co-ops had requirements that most co-ops are at least 20, 25% down.
Mm-hmm.
Some are more.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you didn't walk away. When you put that kind of money down, you didn't just walk away from it.
Mm-hmm.
Co-ops really, I believe, saved us during that time.
But it's challenging. It's challenging to tell someone, here you are buying this gorgeous apartment that's, of great value, and your profile's amazing.
Anywhere else in the country,
it's
you would
like
get a mortgage and be done because you have all this money in the bank.
Yeah.
And certain buildings have certain requirements.
And you always say that a co-op deal is not done until it's closed.
Nothing's done till it's done.
Yeah.
You have an accepted offer, then you have to get the contract signed. There's 2 congratulations. Then get that board package in, get an interview. That's another congratulations. Get approved.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And then 5th, you close. So nothing's done till it's done. But every market has their own. When I hear of my friends and colleagues in other markets where they don't have attorneys handling their contracts and they have to go through the whole inspection and all that. Although we, obviously we deal with that with townhouses and that type of thing. It's just what you know and what you become an expert at.
Mm-hmm.
But co-ops the thing with co-ops are the unknown is that every board is different. They may have different requirements, but then you have the personalities of each board and you're joining a club. And in some cases, particularly in some of the finer buildings, I find they're the most straightforward. And if you give them what they're asking for, they're pretty straightforward.
Totally.
I've had very few, I don't think I've had any turndowns in some, major serious buildings, some of the really, truly most expensive, iconic buildings. And that comes down to an educated, smart board. And then, of course, you have the crazy turndowns of, Madonna being turned down. And many years ago when President Nixon wanted to buy into a co-op and, they wouldn't have him.
Mm-hmm.
So, or I've had.
Remember that we had a property on the Upper East Side and the lady was lovely. Everything was great. And we came to find out she was like a costume designer to the stars.
Right.
And it was going to mean like, big high profile people would be coming in with their entourage.
Right. Yeah.
And the building said no.
Yeah.
And it's like,
that's right.
Things like that are, again, they're tough things to hear after you've gone so far down the road with these people.
Yeah,
but,
that's right. I'll tell 2 quick stories. Years ago, I had a seller who had a magnificent apartment on the west side, Riverside Drive, that had beautiful views of the river. It was gorgeous. This apartment was so done, but there were 2 sconces in the dining room that they were having replaced. And I wanted to start showing the apartment. They would not let me. I'm telling you, this apartment was perfect except for those 2 sconces. Yeah. And until they had those 2 sconces put up, I could not get into the apartment. So that's one. And then we had actually one of my favorite clients. Every time we showed the apartment, because this is how they live, and they weren't living in the space, would have a floor. It was a large apartment, have their flowers come in, and there were fresh flowers. And I'm talking magnificent arrangements in every room, on the bedstand, on a desk, clearly on the dining room table, in the living room. And were spending clearly a lot of money. This is what they would do when they were in residence.
Mhm.
So I get why they were doing it.
Yep.
But at a certain point, because we were getting showings that we'd get a call,
We'd get a last minute request.
last minute call, and I finally got it across that it's beautiful. People all comment on
Totally.
these incredible arrangements. It's not going to make or break your sale.
Yeah.
Let us get in.
Yeah.
And they were smart. They got it.
They got it.
Yeah.
Okay, one quick thing before we wrap up, because I constantly think about it, is budgeting. In this business,
Mhm.
you can go from having an amazing month, an amazing quarter, an amazing year to we don't know what 2023 is going to have in store.
Right.
I mean, it seems like things are good. People are starting to, come to a meeting of the minds, but how do you deal with, or how have you dealt with, and this is more for, I would say, like younger agents, how do you deal with personal budgeting?
Personal in my own life or for our business?
I'm talking about not knowing whether you're going to make what you made last year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you set like a limit of what you're going to live off of and the rest is just extra? Or how do you kind of think about it?
I was thinking about that this morning because for some reason it feels like I'm spending a lot right now. At this point, we're fortunate because we have investments and cushions and income coming in from other sources. But yes, it's can be very scary.
Yep.
My mother jokes that every January I panic and say I'm never making any more money in my life again. Because you're only as good as your last year.
Yep.
And we've had some really phenomenal, successful years.
Mm-hmm.
So Leonard, on the panel, Leonard Steinberg said this the other day, which he and I have been in this business for a long time. And yet it was so good for me to hear, stop looking at every year. And I get it's harder when you just need to pay the bills.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm not talking about that. So every year you may not
Exceed the year before.
Exceed.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have a down year and then an incredible up year and then maybe an average year. But in my opinion, we're always growing.
Mm-hmm.
It just may have some dips in it. Certainly 2020 was a major dip for us.
Yep.
And then we had 2021.
Yep.
So I'd say look at the bigger picture of where you want your business to go.
Mm-hmm.
And we do that a lot.
Yep.
Forecast 5 years, 10 years, what it looks like, how many people we need to get there, how much business needs to be doing. So I'd say that the answer is big planning and future planning, and then go macro and then bring it to micro.
Yeah. And I would just say be smart with budgeting, because again, if you have a really good first quarter,
right,
that doesn't mean third quarter is going to be amazing. More for a younger agent, but.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Always having a cushion.
Yeah.
Of course you have to. Well, that's what they say when you first get in this business. Do you have a cushion of at least 6 months to a year, because you may not do deals.
Anything.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. And that can be scary. You eat what you kill. It's a commission-driven business.
All righty. That wraps up.
Is that a wrap?
Episode number 6.
What the hell are we doing
We've
for
got
7?
One more episode this season. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Again, I'm Tim Malone. You can follow me on Instagram at Tim P. Malone NYC.
And I'm Steve Cohen, and you can follow me at Stephen Cohen NY. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys are enjoying. Leave comments, any topics, thoughts, questions, anything you want to hear about. Tim will answer all of them.
Sounds good. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.